Hello and welcome to this week's recap. I'm Trog and with me is my good friend Sir Kodiak. How are you doing today, Sir Kodiak?
Doing good this week. Glad to be here.
Great. How was your week?
Really good. I took my Nurgle team up against some Dark Elves, which I was a little nervous about since I don't have a ton of agility experience with my Nurgle team, but got a 2-1 win pretty handily. Wasn't too scary. Felt like I had under control most of the game. So that was really rewarding and a lot of fun.
Dude, you're on fire. You'll probably win your division at this rate. Are you first?
It's possible. I'm currently, I believe, in second to a different Dark Elf team. So this was, which I'm playing in 2 weeks. So this was a sort of practice, can I beat a Dark Elf team at all?
Nice.
And next I'll go up against the division leader. And if I can beat them, then I should be in first place.
Nice. Well, my week could have been better. It was a tie, but considering how the match went, I think it wasn't so bad, because I started losing 1-0 in my own drive, and he scored on turn 8, so I didn't even get more punches than normal, and managed to tie it 1-1. So well, I'm not happy about the tie, but I'm happy about the tie after watching the game,
Yeah.
So, well, any case, let's get on with it. Division 4B, and it was a very surprising week. Our predictions were actually quite awful.
yeah. By far our worst week.
Yeah, and I think I like that. They always keep us on our toes, keep us surprising us, and that's really fun. The first game is the Murder Space Elf Troop versus Arequipa Nurglers Rebel. And here we have the first surprise. We both went for the Nurgle, and the Elves stole the win. What do you think about this one?
So I think there was I thought it was an interesting match. I think there was some misplay on Luis Geno's part that he particularly in the second half, he was really trying to get his a second touchdown, and he moved up the field really far with his Nurgle warriors and left his ball carrier back to retrieve the ball by itself. The Dark Elves were able to just slip past a sort of thin Nurgle screen and just put enough weight on the ball that it just shut the game down. So it's sort of something what I was worried about in my own game, which was, can the Dark Elves just outmaneuver you, keep you from doing anything with the ball, and take the game away from you? And that seemed to happen here.
Right. About the inducements, he went with a wizard and a babe, which is very good. I would have liked to see how do you call this? An extra apple, and maybe through coming, but the babe is just fine. He didn't take any permanent damage, so very good on that side. And yeah.
Well, he did take an armor bust on a blitzer, I believe.
That's not the same guy that saw. Oh no, he finally fired that guy. This is another guy. Am I thinking? Oh no.
You're thinking of the other Dark Elf team, I believe, which did fire a armor. No, still has that guy.
Yeah.
Or did he?
We'll
talk about the other Dark Elf team when we get to the other Dark Elf team.
Yeah. So armor bust. That sucks. What you Dark Elves are punchy elves. You want them to be able to take a punch, especially in the case of blitzers, that you usually use them to base stuff with sidestep and blodge. So not great at all. I still don't think I would fire him because even though Motley is doing great this season, his team is still in a rebuilding place. I don't think he has the resources to replace that guy. I don't know.
I would agree with that. I think you have to hang on to him. You just accept that long term, something's going to happen to him, and he's going to be gone. So, don't get attached.
Yeah, but amazing. He finally took the undefeated streak from Luis Jano with this half dead elf team. I just love it. On the level ups, this fucking guy started with a rookie beast, and now it got guard and stand firm in 5 games. That's amazing.
I hadn't realized this before. He didn't have a Beast of Nurgle his entire first season. He played no Beast of Nurgle and then bought this thing during the OI, and in like 6 games or something, got 2 MVPs and has leveled it twice.
Nice. That's the dream. I have the same beast but niggled, and I don't want to fire it because I think it will take like 2 seasons to get it back together. But if I manage to make it like Luis Hano and build because there are better beasts like the monster you have, you know. But a standard beast with guard and stand firm is good enough, you know.
Yeah.
And he managed to make that in just 5 or 6 games. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Then we have Donkeys and Elephants versus Skirgle. This seems to be the final disappointment from Shadora. I'm not sure if I'll expect much more from him from now. You failed me, man. You failed me. Look at the look.
I didn't see this match, but it looks like a rough one. Did you catch this?
Yeah. It was very, very, very painful. One thing to say about Shadora, he always tried to fight back, you know, to try to turn it around, and that obviously gets you more damage because you can always, you know, just say, "Oh, this is over," run away. Instead, well, you see the result. Oh my god. And he used to have a bench. I don't think he does now.
No.
Yeah, this not only affects this match, but will probably affect the season. Yeah. I don't know if there's much more to say. It's just the standard murder team snowballs against another murder team. Murder teams are extremely bad when they're down players, so that's basically it. Okay, and you won this one. Well won.
Yes.
Then we get Legendary Wordsmith versus Sun Eaters. There we go. NAS Star Blitzer.
Yep.
Not going anywhere.
But I did check. He's gone now. This was his final game.
Yeah?
He's been replaced by a rookie blitzer of the same name.
Oh, okay. It makes sense. It was about time. And nice level ups too. Diving tackle, which is always nice. Tackle, always nice as well. And well, the legendary Wordsmith team is kind of unstoppable at this point. Still undefeated, and I don't think anyone is very surprised about this result. Not because Solari is a bad coach, but because Sean Solari clearly knows what he's doing and has the tools to make it happen. About the
I feel like the division.
Oh yes.
I was gonna say, I just feel like the division's waiting for him to have like a bad game against a kill team.
Yeah.
And just like lose half the team. Right, like that's what it's gonna take, is someone really landing serious blows on this guy.
Right, like the game Shadora had. That's what he
exactly
needs to happen. Otherwise, he has the tools to play against anyone. And about the inducement, how do you feel about getting a chainsaw against elves?
You know, I love fouling elves, and so in that theory, I'm open to it. But I feel like zombies are a good fouling piece. I don't know that hack and slash adds so much. I might have looked in a different direction.
Yeah, even if you wanted to foul, you can take Dirty Blader Zombie, which I like better than a chainsaw. He won't roll a 1 and kill himself while trying to foul, and has a +1 to the injury roll, which in my opinion is more important than the armor roll, because the armor roll you can always do a massive foul with mini assists. I generally don't like chainsaws, and I especially don't like chainsaws against elves. If you are going to get a chainsaw, get it against armor 9 or something, but against elves I just don't see it. I guess it's kind of useful in the fact that chainsaws don't care if you have blodge, and the other team had basically universal blodge. But other than that, I don't know. I don't think it's that useful.
Yeah, I don't recall. I don't recall hack ever being used to like blitz, right? Because as you're saying, that's one thing you can't do with him, right? Is you can actually make blocks with him. Not quite blocks, but you can use him to go after people because they don't care about blodge. But which would be a logic with a team with not so much tackle. But I just don't know if that happened in this game.
Right. Well, okay, let's move on. Then we have. Did I skip something? No. Then we have Leaping Lizards versus My Dixie Wrecked. And Gaskell, well, when nobody was expecting it, he came back. Well, you expected it. You went with your guy, but but even then, admit it, you weren't.
I was pessimistic.
You weren't very pessimistic.
I was not like a confident.
Yeah. Well, rats will rat. So you can never, ever count them out, no matter how down they are.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of damage too. If you, a lot of casualties on the human team, which it makes sense. He has the claw, the mighty blow, and the piling on.
That dude did a lot of work. He was really productive this match.
I sadly I missed this match, so I have a question for you. Did the humans go and base the rats, or did they exchange blitzes?
My recollection is the rats pretty much just like was chasing after the humans. That they were getting nice blitzes, they were getting people off the field, and they just kept that up through the match. There's also a fair bit of Skaven fouling.
Right.
That you had line rats, like once they got the numbers advantage, they Gazgul expanded that by I think some good group fouls on the humans.
Nice. Yeah, well, I think this, if you realize these rats have 0 guard, so if you start chasing or exchanging blitzes against these rats, you're gonna have a bad time. The way to play against them is basically put your guard everywhere, give them nothing but red dice, and then make them try to do something about it, because only the gutter runners can really dodge out and make something of it. If you just stand back and cage and make them do the plays, you are in big trouble because they are faster than you and they hit harder than you. So maybe a lesson learned for Archie Bunker.
Yeah, so I wonder if he would have tried that, because his first offensive drive, he had the first drive. Mm-hmm. He basically, like, it was a really shallow kick, and so the Skaven like immediately were on top of the ball.
Right.
And so his half was basically spent just desperately trying to like get some control over what was going on. And by the second half, he was then like trying to base up the Skaven, but he was at such a manpower disadvantage.
Right.
That like he couldn't really make it work right, and the Skaven were able to free themselves, get people down, get more removals, and foul the hell out of them.
So maybe it wasn't a tactical mistake, but maybe he wanted to do it, but wasn't able to. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And I would say one last thing I did like about this game, the Wizard didn't actually play into this win, really. Instead, it came out on turn 16 with a bolt on the one-turner.
Nice.
Who obviously survived.
No damage, sadly, but that would have been awesome. And, okay, let's move on. Then we have game 5. Hellas Kitchen versus Wrath of Nuffle. This was a fun one. What do you think about it?
Yeah. This was fun. I think tough match for Space Lion. A lot of just Chaos was able to put a lot of pressure on him, like just so tough.
Yeah, it's what I like about this kind of matches is they're very they can become like a murder fest, and then it's not very tactical. But in this case, it was. They both had removals, but they weren't very exaggerated, and it mainly came down to who was able to maneuver their own offensive drive. Yeah. Both were able to do it, so it was an unexpected tie on my behalf, at least. Norse.
I thought really good positioning by Chaos on their drive, like just to cut off the frenzy hits.
Right. Yes. And on that regard, I think maybe Hellas Kitchen is due a little bit of trimming, because they were up TB in this match, and against a Chaos team that has a lot of mighty blow and claw and stuff, usually expect to get some sort of inducement. You know, maybe a little something that gives you an edge, a wizard maybe, or an extra apple. But they had nothing because they're a very bloated team.
Yeah, I do look at like Parday and Odin's Beard, and it's like Fen isn't really doing much for you there. That dirty player guard guy is like, I understand wanting more guard on the team,
Right?
But like those are two skills that in no way like help each other.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that player is basically, I don't know, 40k more expensive than he should be. On the other hand,
You could basically have an
guard
extra
is a
lineman.
godsend for North, so maybe you just pay the 40k tax to have a guard player, but it's not a great position to be in.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have Game 6, Butcher's Block versus Crypt Lords. This was kind of a surprise. We keep counting the Crypt Lords out of the thing, and they keep surprising us a bit. Here we get a 1-1 tie against a very, very heavyweight team. So well done from them. What do you think?
Yeah. So I didn't catch this match, but yeah, I think this is a nice tie. That it's yeah, we haven't been giving Redbeard a lot of credit, but and partly because his team has some issues that clearly has taken some damage.
Yeah.
But this is a nice tie.
Yeah, nothing against the coaches. Most of the coaches we don't really know them, but more about the team itself. It has many players missing. Many of them are injured, so it's not a great looking team. That doesn't mean he can't rebuild it. He can, but now he's in the rebuilding mode, so it makes it harder.
Yeah. The niggle on the werewolf is a shame.
Yeah, that was like the last bastion, the last great player he had, and takes a nickel. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
And I mean, if someone told me one of the teams in 4B rerolled this season, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the Crypt Lords.
Yeah.
Then we go Game 7, Careless Coders versus the Greenskin Gutsplitters. Once again, Squid 5 comes out with his magic and surprises us. Were you able to see this match? I sadly missed it.
Yeah, I saw this. It was a fun match. Probably the highlight of the match was as you could see, Kiasubalu had a wizard and was able to bring it out against a very tight work cage that worked incredibly well against, which I think kind of in some sense salvaged the tie for her, on the basis that she'd actually ended her drive not able to score, that the Orcs had managed to get the ball away. They did then in turn score, but like the opening drive turned out badly, so the wizard was able to write that up and get it back to a tie game.
Oh, okay. That's always the danger, you know. With playing against the wizard, you have to cage a little bit more open. If you give him a 5-hit, they'll probably take it. Reminds me of the game this week for me. Like I said, I started losing 1-0, and my opponent started his drive. Turn 9, he placed 6 orcs in the same cube, and I said, I don't care if it's turn 9, this is a fucking fireball. Flinged it and saved my game. So if he hadn't done that, if he had made a wider cage that didn't give me more than 3 orcs, then I don't see myself tying that match. And so maybe it's a lesson for Squid 5 and our coaches in general. Beware of the fireball. Most of us won't see it as a bad thing to throw it if you give us more than 4 or 5 orcs. Okay, and then we get to the predictions. Okay, you won this week by 1, but I think in reality we are both big losers.
Yes, yeah, I don't think anyone won. I just lost this week less.
Yeah, you lost less, because out of 7 matches I only nailed 2 and you nailed 3. This is embarrassing. We don't know our guys.
Yeah.
But well, the bet goes on. I'll cut you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get better, right? Like that's
But
the
statistics.
season's not always going great, but there's always room for.
Yeah. Well,
That should be a good lesson for everybody.
what in regards to you have gotten worse. 5-5.
Yes, that's true.
3-3.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. Then we have the let's go get to the predictions. One moment.
Mhm.
So, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So we got first game of the week: Leaping Lizards versus Murderous Space Elf Troop. What do you see for this one?
So the thing that jumped out at me for this matchup is, turns out that Motley has scored exactly 2 touchdowns every game this season. So I'm going to start from the assumption that that's going to happen again.
Okay.
That that's just baked in. We're getting 2 touchdowns there, and so I'm like, how many touchdowns are the Skaven going to score? I actually think 2 sounds pretty good as well. So I'm calling this one as a tie.
Huh, interesting. I think someone will win 3-2, but I'm not sure which one. And I'm going to go with Motley, but just because I have to go with someone. And also, yeah, he has strip ball. Oh, this is a shitty match. Yeah, I'll go with Motley anyway. Yeah, but I think it will be a high-scoring match. I agree. Neither of both teams have a great way to stall against the other team. So yeah, I expect big things from this match. About inducements, 30. So I don't think, and maybe a Scamba Babe, but other than that,
Yeah.
I wouldn't get too excited about it.
And this isn't even that bashy a Dark Elf team.
Right.
Like, if he has stuff he wants to buy, like he just wants to buy more line rats, I wouldn't. The Babe's not even that essential.
Right. The only thing I find a little bit hard for the Skaven in particular is that they're facing quite a lot of dodge and they have only 1 tackle, and that tackle is niggled.
Yeah, and it's niggled, and so presumably that will be a target, right? But if that goes out of the match, then things could go sideways.
Right. Other than that, it's very manageable match for.
Yeah, and Kroxgar is going to chew up some linemen, particularly the journeymen that'll show up.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm the Motley, I wouldn't expect play my drives with more than 9 or 8 elves, because they're gonna get, especially the line elves will get chewed at the beginning. But after they dodge out and force a blitz, I'm not sure you want to waste your blitz on line elves when you have more important targets. But at the same time, the more important targets don't get piled on and don't get glowed. So I don't know. It's a hard decision.
Yeah, you really wish you had tackle on the piling on guy.
Yeah,
but
and okay.
Takes time.
Okay, let's go to the second match. Then we have Legendary Wordsmith versus Hellas Kitchen. This is a promising match. Because... Oh, no. No, I think it's... I take it back. Where... I thought... I could have sworn that Space Lion had more tackle, but he doesn't. He only has 2. It's a hard match for Space Lion. He's...
Yeah.
The one thing is that he's going to be down team value finally, like 200.
Yeah.
So he can make something happen with that. But even so, I still lean toward Legendary Wordsmith. I don't know what you think.
I agree. I think the elves are going to win this one. In particular, look at like, okay, you got 210, a wizard against dark elves. It's going to be so hard to like get one down in a position where you could actually recover the ball.
No.
Right, because they can move it, because they have all this AG5. They can move from one end to the field like effortlessly. And so I think the inducements have kind of a limited value.
I think the inducements are not a wizard at all. I think it's a bribe and an Apo.
I could see that. The Apo, I guess, because you're looking at Just like AV7 is always going to take a certain amount of damage.
Yeah, and like a power apple, you know, like use your first apple to get a good player back if he's badly hurt. Only if he's badly hurt. And use the second apple to save some valuable piece that gets permed, you know. But more importantly, I think in this case, Billy Cheese Dog is probably the most important player in this game. If he manages to get some damage, it looks good for Hela's Kitchen. If he gets removed early, it looks really bad for Hela's Kitchen. And
yeah, I wouldn't even object to if there's like a turn 1 or turn 2 KO on that piece, I'd even consider appoing that until it's done, just to keep it on the field and useful.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I mean with the power apple. With 200, I like the idea of having an apple to save a player you want to keep on the field, and the bribe so you can foul with Partey because he's a guard player, so you really don't want him sent off.
yeah.
So,
but this is a match where he makes a little bit of sense, right? Because in theory, you can foul with him, and if he does get sent off, you probably save him at least the first time.
Exactly. So
keep his guard around.
Yes. He's a terrible foul piece without a bribe, but with a bribe, he is more manageable.
And his guard's maybe slightly less valuable in this match, considering that you're not going to get into a scrum with these guys. Like, I just don't see him being able to pull that off. So
I think he has to.
You have guard over it.
He has to scrum.
I mean, I think you're going to try, but you're just going to get dodged away from over and over again.
Yes, of course. But here's the thing: the elves will put a stupid elf screen. You know, 2 spaces apart, 2 players deep, and you can't go forward because you only have one IG4 player, right? So there's where you have to base every single player in the front of the screen, so the elves are forced to dodge back. But that only works if you're stronger and if you have more guard than them. If you don't have that, the elves will punch you back, and that's not what you want because you have 87. So you need that guard to be able to make the punching back so unreliable and so not wanted that you force them to dodge back. And that way you push them little by little until you're in range with your 87, with your IG4 movement 7 runner, and you try to make the play. That's how I see Hela's Kitchen offensive drive going. It's going to be hard. Don't because I don't know. What do I expect about the Dark Elves? In this case, I'd expect a blitz with JC, and then put Eminem basing the ball, and you have a very, very annoying sidestep diving catch piece that you can't ignore. You have to blitz, and if you can't get rid of him, then you have a based ball, and that gets even worse. So the only way to prevent the Dark Elves from doing that is to keep the pressure on them and force them to be dodging out. And for that, you need your guard.
That makes sense. But yeah, it's going to be tough. He's up. Space Line's up against a Dark Elf team where like half of the team is like credible ball hawks, and one of them has strip ball, and you have no sure hands.
Oh yes. This. Yeah, I'm giving it to Sean Follery anyway, but it's going to be an interesting match nonetheless.
Yeah.
Then we have Donkeys and Elephants. Formerly Donkeys and Elephants, because it's like half the team left. How many players? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players. You'll be playing.
Yeah, the only it could have been worse. The only truly bad loss was the ball carrier Beastman, which I think was block, sure hands, and I think one more skill. A number of the actual deaths also had dodge, which is nice. Some of the other deaths were simply rookies, but yeah, the team's not looking as good as it used to.
Yeah, but that's not the only problem. Beyond the value of the pieces themselves, playing with 11 players as Chaos is a problem because you're an Apple team. So basically every removal starts to reduce the amount of players you have for the next drive. That tends to start snowballing, you know?
Yes, though Butcher's block is currently at 11 players, with 2 people being MNG'd. So maybe we'll see that 80 spent to get another Beastman on the team just to have a 12-man team. But if not, it's going to be 11 versus 11. The difference is just going to be that some of that for donkeys and elephants is journeyman.
Right. How are they in cash? Let me see. 150 for Shadora. Yeah, I think
Which
it's hard. I don't think I'd spend it because you can only afford 2 goats, and basically you're buying goats to get them claw in the LOS. I'd rather have loners get clawed, you know?
I absolutely agree. I'm of the opinion that 11 is like the worst number of pieces to have on your team because you don't get the benefit of like disposable journeymen, but you don't actually have a bench. You're just paying for everybody who's about to die.
Yes. So maybe you just hold out, let your loners get murdered on the LOS this game, and next game, if he gets a little bit more cash, he can buy 3 goats, and then he has a bench, which makes it worth it. But right now, it's not. Who do you see in this game?
I actually I'm calling this for donkeys and elephants. I think Shador's a good coach. I think his team is put together well enough. I think he'll win this.
Oh, I'm going to go against my boy, but I think this one is for chaos time.
How bad are you gonna feel if
I know.
if your guy wins and I'm the one who picked him?
I know, but it's just what I'm seeing. Shadora's weakness this season has definitely been damage. When he is able to maneuver, he has a good game. When he has to survive, he's not having good games. And Butcher's Block is basically a one-dimensional team that damage. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Chaos Type. I hate myself for it, but I want. Okay. Then we get Adegipara Nurglers, the no longer undefeated Nurgle against Careless Coders. What do you see for this one?
So this is a rematch. These folks were in the same division last year, last season. And that was it was week 11. That was a 2-1 win by the Careless Coders. Though, as we talked about before, there was no Beast of Nurgle on the Nurgle team that game.
Right.
And that can actually be a pretty useful piece for dealing with Underworld Goblins.
Yes. And
so that could easily upset things.
Right, and especially useful now that it has Stand Firm, because red dicing a beast with block while the beast doesn't have block and doesn't have Stand Firm is really not that hard. You basically are saying anything but a skull, but now that the beast has Stand Firm, it's a really annoying piece. It probably makes a very big difference. That little level up, that 20k, makes a very big difference for this match.
Yeah.
So you're going for
a lot of inducements for the. Well, I actually am going to go for Underworld though.
Yes.
I think Luciano's been struggling a bit with agility. I would wonder if that was going to happen. I think that did happen against the Dark Elves, whereas I think Keisubalu is just rock solid and will be able to take advantage of that and make good use of these inducements. That I think she'll make good choices. I'm curious to see what they are. I think Keisubalu knows better than I do about that.
But what would be your recommendations for inducements?
You have to get a wizard. Like I assume we'll see that.
Yes.
That seems baked in. After that, I'm not 100% sure. You could go with the extra Apo. I know Keisubalu likes star players, but that's usually because they're playing at that's for when they're playing at home where they have the Nuffle Altar.
Yes.
Without it, I think you do stuff to help you survive some of the damage that's incoming your way, like extra Apo, Blood Wizard Babe.
Right. It's a hard one. I think I'm going to go with the Nurgle. Those Blood Warriors will be more annoying than usual because the Keisubalu's team only has one targetable. The Beast with Stand Firm will be a mess for the Underworld, and he has 2 goats that have Mighty Blow and Tackle that can basically eat goblins for breakfast. So it's going to be a very hard match for Underworld, even though I think Keisubalu is a great coach. That said, on the inducements part, I'd love to see Wizard and Glart. I'm not sure if it can be afforded. 320 is probably too much. It's probably not enough.
Yeah, Glart's 210 and the Wizard's 150, so that'd be 360. So
that's scummable.
Yeah, that's true. And like Blue doesn't have anything to buy, right?
That's very scummable. Yeah, I'd go with that.
It's all the cash. So yeah, that's not ridiculous. Just like a straightforward guy in the field to take a hit.
Yeah, and a clawed guy that punches 89 decently. Yeah. And I wouldn't hate, maybe sacrificing Glart on a, let's say you catch a beast of Nurgle, semi alone somewhere. You put Glart on her and just forget about her. That's not bad. But you wouldn't do that with a Goblin because the Goblin will get murdered. You wouldn't do that with a positional because you want your positionals to make plays. I like Glart for this match. Okay, so yeah, we got. Then we have game 5, Skurgle versus Greenskin Gutspears. What do you see for this one?
So I think that I have Skurgle winning this one. I like Nurgle over Orc in general, at least at this level of development. And this is the Orcs have one win against Nurgle, and as has a pattern in this division, it's against me. But that was like the first season, which we have said doesn't really count.
Yeah, doesn't count.
I think the Orcs are going to continue to struggle against this sort of like claw kill team, and they're just gonna not. And I don't think the inducements do enough for Orc. I don't think Orcs play the inducements game that well.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. Especially in this match in particular, I think the Nurgle are very in advantage because Orcs can be a big problem for Nurgle, but it has to be a very specific kind of Orc, and that is the Orc team that spams guard. And that's kind of the team I played this week with my Nurgle. I had 4 guard, they had 8. So, and not only that, they were able, because they are more TD efficient, they were able to induce both Reaper and a Merc Troll. So they had a lot more strength and a lot more guard than me, and they basically manhandled my team. Yeah, that's the kind of Orc team that you as Nurgle struggle against. Because they base everything, you get nothing but red dice and you have nothing to do about it. On the other hand, the Greenskin Gutspears are not that kind of Orc team. They have used a lot of their team value in skills like Mighty Blow and Tackle and Dodge, and that obviously becomes a problem if you are playing Nurgle, in which these skills are not very useful. So
the Mighty Blow is just not as good as without the claw, and the tackle does nothing. Well, I guess there's one dodge piece.
Exactly. So I don't hate Orcs against Nurgle, but I do hate this Orc against this Nurgle.
Okay.
So
question here. We have Cryro, the Pestigore.
Yes.
We've talked about some of this a little bit. Off the recap, but that would have double 6. Do you take strength up on that piece?
Yes and no. We actually talked about this in the Nurgle chat with the coach Stasi. If you take strength, that's fine, but in that case, this goat is no longer a sacker in my mind. At that point, you aspire to give this goat block and then guard maybe. It becomes like a fast Nurgle warrior, like a multi-purpose good unit. Because strength is very expensive, having a strength up sacker that basically doesn't play for 95% of the match and also takes 200 or more of your team value, I don't think it's worth it. What do you think about it?
I agree completely. That you end up being a tiny bit disappointed that you went tackle for. You would have block first,
right,
on him. But tackle's not awful. And then you do block, you do guard, and you accept that he's probably not going to live that long necessarily. He's like a bright shining star that like helps you win games by once you get guard on him, say, marking people up and being really effective. But he's 88. He's not 89 like your Nurgle Warriors.
Right.
He's not going to survive as well. He doesn't have foul appearance.
Right.
And you just accept like he's expensive for a while, so get a ton of utility out of him for as long as you can.
Yes.
And then once he's gone, you buy a new one, and then you actually build a sweeper or whatever you want to build.
Yes, exactly. I couldn't have said it better. What a big mistake some coaches make, and I include myself in it, is you make a very nice piece and you don't want to lose it, so you don't use it as much, and then it's not really a nice piece if you don't use it. That started to happen with I have an IG5 Pestigor who is really famous, and that's because he can do a lot of shit, but I protected him so much that he's not really worth the 230 or 220 team value that he's worth. So now I started using him more, and that's a problem, because that becomes excuse me, I'll be right back. I don't have.
Sure.
And we're back. Sorry about that. Had to answer the phone. Okay. So where were we?
I think we were wrapping up the discussion of this. We were talking about wrapping up the discussion of Game 5 and this the Pestigor with the double sixes.
Oh right, yeah. So I was saying that you're completely right, and you have to play these expensive pieces and make their team value count. Otherwise, you better not have them at all. So that's my opinion. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have.
Just to confirm, you also said Skrogl was going to win that. Is that correct?
Yes. Then we have the Sun Eaters versus the Crypt Lords to Boogaloo. A battle for the bottom. What do you see for this one?
I'm calling this as Sun Eaters for that you have Redbeard going into this match minus his best player, and I think he has. So we're seeing 230 inducements. That's enough that if you're willing to scum 10, you can get Wilhelm, which I think is how I would go in this match, because you need a actual werewolf that can blitz people. And it would be nice to have Walrus, I'm trouble pronouncing that, but not be that guy so that it doesn't also die. But nevertheless, I think Sun Eaters, they're in better shape, and I just have, I think, more pieces that they can do useful things with.
Yeah, I agree. This game is probably for the undead. I've heard many people say that Necro is better than undead in Eternal Leagues because they can develop these wolves to become these monster players. And on the other hand, mummies are not that good later on because people have Clopom. But this is exactly the opposite case, where we have developed mummies against wolves that are against one rookie wolf and maybe two if he gets a star player. So the great advantage that the Necro team has doesn't have it for this match. So I don't see them, just by the teams. I don't know about the coaches, just by the teams. I don't see the Crypt Lords having a good match this time. And finally, we have My Dixie Wreck versus Rough Nuffle. What do you see for this one?
So I'm going with Cullen on this. More guard, you got the claw, you got a bunch of pieces that can do useful things. You've got I think he's just gonna be able to like beat him up a lot and just take over the game.
Okay, I'm going to go with a tie because the team value of both teams is very similar, so nobody will get like a game-changing inducement. And in fact, the team that is lower team value has only 20 cash, so they can't really scum anything either. They'll probably get a babe or two and call it a day. And and it's not. You're right on one thing, that even though they are getting inducements, they're not getting many inducements, and the teams look really similar. But one team has strength 4s, and the other team has strength 3. So, yeah, I think I'm leaning toward the tie. What I see, it will probably be a 1-1 tie where both teams win their respective offensive drives. But other than that, I see it hard especially for the humans, to be able to turn over the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I think that's for the week, right?
Yep, that's it.
Great. So, any last message for our division?
Keep surprising us. It makes the games really exciting to watch.
Yeah, I have to agree. I hope we're still shitty on our predictions, because that makes it more fun to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, see you, man. Thanks for coming.
Yep. Bye.